Lexicography doesn't happen in a vacuum. It is deeply rooted in its social environment, and the social environment is shaped by culture, power, institutions, and changing language norms. Let's enumerate and comment on today's social environment in terms of its influence on e-lexicography. Firstly, every lexicographic product or service reflects the values of the society that produces them. The words we include and those we leave out say a lot about what we consider important, acceptable or taboo at a given time. For example, the way we define words like marriage, race or gender changes as social debates evolve. Lexicographers must respond to these shifts, not just by updating definitions, but by thinking critically about representation and inclusivity. See, for example, the different treatment of the Spanish word fiscala in the Diccionario Digital del Español, DIDES, and in the Diccionario de la Lengua Española, DEL, edited by the Royal Spanish Academy. In DIDES, fiscala is a lemma and has the same lexicographic status than fiscal, its gender counterpart. In DEL, fiscala is a note explaining grammar rules that many speakers may not follow or accept. Secondly, lexicography is influenced by educational systems, publishing markets, and political contests. A school dictionary may be more prescriptive, aiming to teach correct usage, while a historical dictionary might describe all forms, even the obscure or offensive. Thirdly, one key characteristic of the social environment in which e-lexicography develops today is that the typical users of online reference words are netizens. That is, people who actively participate in the digital world, not just as consumers, but also as contributors and commentators. This has significant implications for both lexicographic theory and practice. On the one hand, netizens are used to instant access, interactivity, and user-centered design. Unlike traditional dictionary users, netizens expect quick, intuitive search functions, multimedia content, and even real-time updates. This pushes lexicographers to move beyond static entries and think in terms of dynamic, responsive systems. On the other hand, netizens often engage with content socially through comments, reviews, and content creation. This challenges lexicographic theory to reconsider notions of authority and stability. Definitions are no longer set in stone. They can evolve based on uses, feedback, and trends. This opens the door for crowdsourced data, usage-based entries, and data-driven revisions. In practice, this means that modern dictionaries might incorporate user contributions, uses statistics from corpora like Twitter or YouTube, and even algorithmic suggestions. The boundary between user and lexicographer becomes more porous. To sum up, the rise of netizens transforms reference works from static books into living platforms that are interactive, collaborative, and adaptable. Fourthly, in the world of e-lexicography, competition is a powerful driving force, and it shapes everything from how dictionaries are built to how they are used. For instance, we have competition for search engines and AI chatbots. This means that our products and services must be subjected to a constant process of updating, and that we must focus on quality as we cannot compete on quantity. In short, the competitive environment of e-lexicography is constantly evolving. Lexicographers must stay ahead by being fast, responsive, and flexible, all while maintaining accuracy, authority, and credibility. Here is a list of actions that we must take into consideration for competing in today's world. First, lexicography today must be as agile and networked as the users it serves. For instance, the Diccionario Digital del Español is being constantly updated, whereas the Diccionarios de la Lengua Española is updated from time to time. Secondly, lexicographers must emphasize accuracy and authority. They must highlight their expertise, peer-reviewed content, and evidence-based data. Thirdly, lexicographers must go beyond definition. They must accompany them with lexicographic data such as usage notes, registers, cultural context, phrase and clause examples, synonyms, antonyms, related words, and so on. Fourth, building reference works as learning platforms is a must. For example, including assistance, voice search, natural language queries, progressive web apps, tailored exercises, multilingual alignment, cultural information, and seamless integration with writing tools, for example with Google Docs, Word, browser extensions, etc. Fifthly, we must reduce lexicographic costs, for example by working with AI chatbots. This increases lexicographic productivity and reduces cost. Sixthly, we must create a community around their creations. For example, by hosting language blogs, forums, invite user feedback, and making use of social networks as marketing tools. Finally, hyperlinks are possible. This has two main implications for the theory and practice of lexicography. One of them is that users can access extra lexicographic data easily and with no relevant extra cost. This will force lexicographers to take care of the links they are using. For example, they must be functioning and free of ideological bias. The second one is that hybridization is possible, and therefore lexicographers must ensure that this process runs smoothly. In short, lexicographers should accept that online information tools are fluid, that their characteristics are established in terms of money, technological possibilities, and user needs. In sum, our creations might win the current competition by being deeper, more transparent, and more quality-centered. This will be possible if we understand the business environment in which lexicographers are and have to compete. This will be the object of a new lesson.